Welcome to Financially Free Podcast with your host, Nay Torres. One of the reasons Nay could retire when he was 25 years old is because he was coached by the best. And now, through this podcast, so can you.
Welcome to the show, everybody. Today I have the honor to talk to Mr. John Keane. You may know John because he wrote a very important book, maybe one of the top 20 books in leadership, for sure. It's called Untitled Leadership. And as you know, business is about relationships. If you're going to understand business, you have to master relationships. Welcome to the show, John.
Well, thank you very much, Nay. It's a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you for inviting me.
I think you will be the first one to agree that you made a career of talking about relationships.
Yeah, I'm pretty much of the point of view that that's all that there is, and it doesn't matter what business you're in. It doesn't matter what your interest is. It doesn't matter if you're working with your family or with the people that you work with in your community or in your culture. The name of the game is relationships, and if you cannot master that, you're not going to successfully master your life as a human being, because what it is to be a human being is to be in a relationship. And what we want to do is we want to talk. There's a lot of people who talk about this, and some good and some not so good, a lot of ideas. But I just kind of like to talk about what I've noticed that works and what doesn't work, and work with people on this. I might say to the people who I work with, let's say in real estate, because I've worked with a lot of people in the commercial real estate business. And I usually say to them, you have to understand that you're in the relationship business and real estate is your vehicle. So you have this extraordinary vehicle to be in relationship with people. But if you cannot create relationships, you're not going to create a successful career. You may do a kind of a transactional professional life, but that's not really a professional life. What your life is as a profession is a process. And the process really is dependent upon your ability to create and foster and maintain and expand successful, authentic relationships that are based on being a true partner with people.
And the beauty of, let's call it the process, I call it the technology. I don't like to call it the systems. I don't think that's the right way to describe them, but it could be, depending on the context. But what you can do is to take a small business, medium business, or big business to a different level. And I refer to levels because for the people that have read the book, your insight in the book is that there's different levels where people, or tribes in this case, a group of 20 people or more, work. There's level 1, can you explain a little bit in your own words the different levels?
Sure. And actually, Nay, I call them stages. And the reason I call them stages is because a very, very important writer and thinker, a man named Jim Collins, wrote an incredible book called Good to Great. And it's a great book on leadership. And what he talked about levels of leadership. Then he talked about level 5 leadership. And I thought, I so appreciate what Jim Collins said that I don't think what we'll do is we'll call them levels, we'll call them stages. And so we say how it came about. How it came about is how most good things come about. I was failing at something, and I was doing okay, but I wasn't doing as well as I knew that I could do, and my clients were not doing as well as I knew they could do, and I knew that there was something off about it. And so I went back to do the basics. If you play football or any kind of sport, but let's say football, it doesn't matter how good you are or how professional you are. You go back and you practice the basics over and over and over and over again. So I went back to the basics, and the basics in the world that I'm in come out of the thinking of a man named Peter Drucker. And I was reading Drucker probably for the 6th or the 7th time, but these words jumped off the page at me. And the words were that culture eats strategy for breakfast every day. And when I realized that that was so, and I realized that what I was doing probably the gold standard of strategic training for people, but I wasn't getting out of it what I wanted. In that moment, I remember putting the book down and standing up and just saying, there was nobody in the room, but saying out loud, I'm no longer a strategist. I am now in the culture business. And I didn't know what that meant, but I knew that it was a whole life change in the way that I thought about my relationship to my work and to the people that I worked with. And so I started just asking the question, what is culture? And I continued to work, and over the course of the next 9.5 years, I ended up talking to, over that time, about 25,000 people, either in lectures or as clients or in classrooms that I was giving. And there were 87 different companies that I consulted to over the almost 10 years. And they ranged from publicly held and privately held and NGOs, and sometimes they were schools. They were all the way across the board of different kinds of people. And what I began to notice were the patterns of how people were organizing themselves structurally and how they talk. And the more I looked after the 25,000, after I took the data that I'd collected and the insights that I had, I saw that, wow, people actually fall into 5 large groups. And I thought at first I'll call them levels, but then I realized no, they're stages, and they evolve. And you move from one stage to the next, and as you get better and better at what you do in your relationships with human beings, the structure changes and your language changes. So stage one is not a lot of us talk to people who are in stage one, because generally people who are in stage one, it's a small percentage of the population, and mostly they are institutionalized, or they might be incarcerated. These are people who are not making it in the culture, but they have a way that they talk. Now, they say a lot of things. They have a full kind of world of vocabulary like you and I have. But if you threw a net over everything, you would see that the way that they talk is reflective of their attitude, and their attitude is captured in the phrase, life sucks. They really do feel that life is a bummer. They really do feel that it's them as an individual against the world. They've never actually figured out that what they need to do is be in relationship with and partner up with other people. So they're in a deal where they're a human being being alienated in the world, and their overall conversation, if you woke them up at 3 o'clock in the morning, would be life sucks. Now, you and I don't do that, but that's stage one. Stage two is you and me on a bad day. So every once in a while, you and I have a bad day, and on that bad day, we are ineffective. So the stage one is called undermining. Stage two is called the ineffective stage. And in the ineffective stage, it is we're having trouble connecting with other people, or we're just simply not connected with other people, or the way that we're connected to other people is we are connected to them in a hierarchical form, and we're at the bottom of the hierarchy. So if you take people at stage two, they don't say life sucks, but they do say my life sucks. And their background conversation is, I can see that your life works, and if I had what you have, and you fill in the blank of the word have, if I had what you fill in the blank, then my life wouldn't suck, but I don't, so it does. And I'm in a relationship with others, and in this relationship, my experience in the relationship is I'm separate. My experience in the relationship is that I'm ineffective. My experience in the relationship is that it's a kind of a master-slave relationship, and I'm kind of the slave in this relationship, and I don't like it. And I feel like a martyr sometimes, and I feel like they over there won't let me. So I don't really feel like I have a lot of power or control. So that's stage two. My life sucks. Stage three is you and me on a good day. So we go back and forth between good days and bad days. Hopefully we have more good days than we have bad days. Stage two is my life sucks. Stage three, on the other hand, is I'm great and you're not. and I have the stats to prove it. And so the person who's at stage 3 is basically interested in finding people to dominate and win with. They are playing a game. Stage 2 and stage 3 are playing a zero-sum game where there's always a winner and always a loser. And if you're in relationship with a person at stage 3, they're going to do everything that they can, and they will lie, cheat, and steal in order for them to be the winner and you to be the loser. They're interested in domination. So whereas the person at stage 2 has an experience of being separate, the person at stage 3 has an experience of dominating people. So if you think back to when you were about 13 years old and you were going, or 12 years old, and you were moving from elementary school into middle school, the very first few days of middle school, it's big, it's unfamiliar, it's kind of scary. There are older people there who know more than you and have been around, and there's probably a few bullies around, and you're the little kid, and you're having a stage 2 experience. And until you connect with other people, you will be in stage 2. After you've been there a while, after you've gotten past the 7th grade and you're in the 8th grade and possibly even the 9th grade, there are all of those people that you are superior to. So you're great and they're not, and you're in stage 3. So stage 2 and stage 3 is a natural evolving place that every human being goes through, and they pass through it at several times in their life. They pass through it when they go into school for the first time in the first grade. They pass through the stages when they go into the next level of school in middle school or high school, or going to college, or your first few days in the military, or your first few days in a new job. If you don't know anybody and you're not connected, then you're not doing what human beings do best, which is connect. And so you will be in a place. So if you have an experience, and everybody has them, that you're being ineffective, then you are in stage 2. Stage 3 is called useful. And what I noticed was that's pretty much where everybody is. And like a light switch or a toggle switch, we go back and forth between stage 2 and stage 3 all day long, every day. And so background vocabulary ranges from my life sucks to I'm great, they're not, to my life sucks again to I'm great, they're not. And as I was doing this, I noticed that stage 2 and stage 3 comprise pretty close to 70% of the total population. So as I looked around, no matter what my group was, if I took a look at my group, 70 to 75% of them were going to be in stage 2 or stage 3. And then I saw groups of people who were doing extraordinarily well. So stage 2 is ineffective, stage 3 is useful, even though they're the ones we give the prizes to. And then I noticed that there were people who were actually fulfilling important functions. So stage 4 is called important. And what I saw about people at stage 4 is that they were geniuses at being able to work with people. They were able to create partnering kind of situations. It didn't really matter what the others were doing. They were able to work with them in such a way that they got the best out of them. And this is the level at which leadership began to show up. So stage 3 tends to think that they're a leader, and they get insulted if you say they're not. But they're not. They're not in any way, shape, or form. But at stage 4 is the beginning of leadership. And the way that they talk at stage 4, so stage 1 was life sucks, stage 2 is my life sucks, stage 3 is I'm great, you're not. Stage 4 is we're great together. And what they do is they form groups, usually small group. A number of 3 to 5 people is really a good number to start with. And what they do is they are operating in an environment of respect and dignity, and that they appreciate the talents, they appreciate what other people bring. So these people are the first leaders, the people who are at stage 4. And they realize that their job is just to build and stabilize a stage 4 group wherever they go. They want to turn their family into a stage 4 family. They want to, in their work group, they want to be working working in stage 4. If they go and they play sports, they do sports in a way that they create partnership all the way around, and they create a stage 4 grouping when they're playing. It's not about winning and losing, but what they've done is they have transcended being in a zero-sum game, and they've made a conscious choice to play a non-zero-sum game. And in a non-zero-sum game, we're all in it together, and we all win or we all lose together. And so what they do is they put people together and they say, look, we're all in this together, and we're going to sink or we're going to swim together. And what we're going to do is we're going to work on some kind of project together that is bigger than any one of us, and it's going to take all of us for us to be successful at that. And if we've done that, we will build and stabilize a stable stage 4 group. The final group is, so that's the process. And then there are events that come along. And the events that come along are opportunities to make history, opportunities to contribute on a level that is extraordinary. These opportunities or events are called stage 5 events. And at the world of stage 5, several of stage 4 groupings come together and they form a team. And they begin, they create an environment where they can all work together. There may or may not be someone who is the designated leader in this. Quite often there is not an official leader, but people do what this genius friend of mine calls leading from their current position. Everybody contributes and everybody is working on the big, what we call the noble cause. And in doing the noble cause, they create this stage 5 experience. And the stage 5 experience, the language of it is life is great. And they do that. And then when that's over, they go back and they continue to work on stabilizing their stage 4 home, if you will. So that's kind of the way that it looks, and that's a little bit about the vocabulary.
Perfect. So now we share the same context, and now I can ask you, I saw somewhere, I don't remember where, but maybe Eric told me that once a company goes from level 3 to level 4, the results jump around 300 to 400%. Is that right?
Yes, and I will tell you that between you and me and the fence post, what we know is that if we can elevate the group that's working together from stage 2 and 3 to stage 4 and stabilize them there, that minimum they will produce 300% better with no more effort. And in fact, a lot less effort because they're working together and they're working in alignment. You see, at stage 2 and stage 3, people are at war, and they're at war because everything is based around agreement. I'm trying to actually dominate you into agreeing to my point of view or my way of doing something or the way that I think is the best way. So agreement is actually a weak distinction to be working inside of. The huge intelligence transformation that happens at stage 4 is that people give up having to force others to agree with them or to resist, the domination of agreeing with other people, and they actually choose to align. And what they do is they align on something that is outside of them that is bigger than them. I'll give you an example of how that happened in my life, where the insight came from. I was married and we had a daughter. My wife's name is Kathy. My daughter's name is Krista. And Kathy and I and Krista we were a happy little family, but it was time for us to really, Krista was beginning to talk and walk, and we really needed to pay attention to, what we were doing with her. Well, Kathy was a child psychologist, and her father was a pediatrician. He founded a very famous clinic, and her mother owned a dance studio, and they taught children how to dance. So Kathy had been in the environment of teaching children and working with children all of her life since she had been a little child. On the other hand, I was not that guy. I was just kind of like take it or leave it. And I literally kind of felt that Krista is a great kid, and if we just kind of pour water on her head, she'll grow up and she'll be great. So Kathy felt that there needed to be structure, and I felt that there needed to be no structure. And we were arguing about it. And the arguing was actually beginning to threaten the marriage. And it was getting louder and louder because it was more and more and more important to Kathy that we put structure usher in, and it was more and more important to John that I be right about, we just pour water on her head. So one day we were arguing, and in the middle of the argument, probably Kathy, I don't know where it came from, but probably Kathy, well, one of us asked the question, how do we want Krista to turn out when she's 18 years old? And in that instant, Kathy and I began to talk about how Krista was going to be in 16 more years, how she was, what she was going to look like, what kind of a person she was going to be, how she was going to be a great daughter, she was going to be a great sister, she was going to be a great friend. If she met a boyfriend, she had a boyfriend, she was going to be a great girlfriend, and she was going to be a great wife and a great mom. That's what we were raising. And in the second that we became aligned, the argument disappeared, and Kathy and I became committed to a stage 4 project, a worthy project, raising this child so that she turned out as a great citizen, as a great wife, as a great mom, as a great daughter. So what we saw was that the power's in alignment. And at stage 4, what happens is you go from the stage 2 and 3 environment of people fighting over agreement and arguing over agreement to the stage 4 environment of people being aligned on a project that is greater than them and then working towards that. And in the moment that we saw that, it was suddenly okay with Kathy that I was just kind of like, hey, just pour water on her head and be a great dad. And it was okay with me that Kathy was, we got to put in this structure and this structure and this structure, because we knew that we were working on the same goal.
I understand. Can you guide me a little bit as a value investor or somebody that sees the numbers and, sees the building and says, well, this building is worth X. There's a different level in value investing, which is judging character. Like, for example, I do not understand how Lululemon sells. It has such a good track record and people love them so much. I just look at the financials and I'm like, I don't get it. Is there how do I look into that?
Well, I think that you have to go back to something really fundamental, Nick. And what is fundamental for me is where I do is I usually go back and I take a look at the thinking of the great philosophers. And the person that I look to in this case is Aristotle. Aristotle wrote a letter to his son. His son was named Nicomacheus. His father was named Nicomacheus. And so his father taught him and he taught his son. And he wrote a letter and it was called the Nicomachean Ethic. And in the Nicomachean Ethic, he talked about virtue. And he said to his son, he said, virtue, the word virtue in Greek actually means excellent. He said, virtue, so excellent, builds character. And character is what unfolds your destiny. So he was saying to him, this is my point of view or what I want to share with you about these 11 different virtues. And he said, what we're trying to do is we're trying to raise you as a young man of character. He said, there are, just looking at friendship, he said there are 3 different levels of friends. He said the first one is friendships of pleasure. He said that would be you and I really enjoy doing the same thing. We enjoy going out to dinner. Maybe you and I enjoy going to sporting events together. Maybe we enjoy playing games together. Maybe we like to go bowling or play pool or go ballroom dancing or something like that. But what we like to do is we like to do things that give us pleasure. He said that's the lowest level. He said the next level, and this is generally the level that people are in when they're in business, is the level of utility. That's the level of what's in it for me, where people are measuring the other person of, if I do X with you, you do Y with me. Is the negotiation going to work out in my favor, especially? It'd be okay if it worked out in your favor, but it definitely has to work out in my favor. Utilitarian relationships. Most business relationships are at the utilitarian level. Utilitarian level is level 2 and 3. That's what the utilitarian level is. Stage 4 is at the level of character. Character is something that is ephemeral. It is where you look at this person and you realize that this person's got my back. That that this relationship is something that is based on something that is far deeper than just what's in it for me, and that I'm not in a conversation with them that is kind of my way or the highway. It's a conversation with them where you can count on me. Your dreams, your hopes, your aspirations are safe with me. And as a matter of fact, I will do what I can do in my life to help you get to your dreams and your hopes and your aspirations, because that's the way you're interacting with me. You're interacting with me to help me with my dreams and my hopes and my aspirations. So how we judge our relationships with one another is by character-based and character-driven relationship. What builds that is virtue. And so he said to his son, basically, if you're going to be the kind of person that's going to make the contribution as a human being in business, in your family, in life, in government, in your investing in this case, you want to be in relationship with other people where you actually have an experience of their character, because their character is what's going to unfold. Your relationship and character is what's going to unfold into your destiny in relationship with that person. So what I do is I train people to upgrade their business conversation from utilitarian conversation to character-based conversation. And if you look, you'll see that there are not as many opportunities out there, but the opportunities are much richer and much more powerful. You know, you take Eric. Eric has a huge respect for and character-based relationship with Charlie Munger and with Warren. What am I saying? Who am I saying?
Warren Buffett.
Warren Buffett. Yeah, it's funny when I say Warren. I had a character-based relationship with a man named Warren Bennett, who was a leadership teacher. So I always go to that. Yeah, Warren and both start with a B, so I have to stop. But Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett have a character-based relationship, and if you take a look at their the values-based investing that they do, Berkshire Hathaway does, and you listen to what Munger says or what Bennett, why did I do it again? Buffett says. What Buffett says, you listen through their words, and you see that they only invest in character-based investment. They invest in companies with people who know what they're doing. They invest in people who actually understand their product. They don't want to run your business for you. They just want to own your business. And so what they do is they invest in you, and they're investing in your character as much as they're investing in kind of the principal articles of what your business is about. And so they're the leaders, in my mind, of character-based investing, which some people call values-based investing and some people call activist investing. So I teach the same thing. It's a slightly different kind of investment, because it's the investment of human to human in relationship. But I say that if we don't have a character-based relationship, then I'm not really interested in being in business with you. If that, I don't know if that answers your question, but that's my thinking.
Yeah. It does. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll have a lot to think about. Well, John, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. We'll like to close with that idea. Takes 5 minutes. No, it takes 20 years to create a reputation and 5 minutes to destroy it. Character is.
But you're not saying that. Yeah, you're not kidding about that. So, Nay, I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to share some of my ideas with you. It's very gracious of you, and I wish you well. And I'm looking forward to hearing the interview.
Can you please let us know where can people find you?
Oh, yeah, super easy. Since all I care about is partnerships and relationship, if you will email me at johnkingpartners, all one word, johnkingpartners@gmail.com. That would be probably the easiest way to get me. I can also be reached through Eric at, what does he call it? intelligentinvestor.com. I can be reached through something called the Mind Suite, all one word, MINDTHEMINDSUITE.com. And I'm on a number of websites, but that's one of the main ones that I use. So johnkingpartners.com. johnkingpartners at gmail.com.
Thank you so much for your time. See you in the next occasion.
Did you learn something today? How can you apply your insights? What's next for you? The fastest way to make things happen is to just share this podcast episode with more people that may find it valuable too. Talk about it with them and surround yourself with like-minded people. Hope you found this valuable. Don't forget to subscribe. See you next time.
This podcast references opinions and is for information purposes only, not intended to be investment advice. Seek a duly licensed professional for investment advice.